I really am a witch.
A girl named Mary discovers blooming fly-by-nights, aka the witch's flower, and a broom. From these, she is granted magical abilities and is led to an academy of science and magic known as Endor College. And just for the record, the fairy tale this movie was based on was published before Star Wars was a thing. The good. It's an almost entirely universal practice in film that we discover the world of the film through the eyes of the main character. And the way it's done here feels very right. The storytelling is helped by this because it leaves the audience just as confused and bewildered as Mary to discover these bizarre things. And that's exactly the sensation that I get when watching a Studio Ghibli film, where something is kind of, sort of, or even extremely weird and I just go with it and it's a good time. The arc Mary is given in this film is satisfying to follow. She starts from a place of inadequacy because she's bored, she has no friends, she feels like she can't do anything right, and she's even dissatisfied with the hair she was born with. And this general disposition leads to what is, I think, my favorite line of the entire movie. But I think the most meaningful thing about this arc is that by the time Mary's adventure is over, the most important thing she's discovered about herself has nothing to do with magic. There are antagonists in this film, but they're not written as pure evil. What we see them do can be considered abhorrent behavior, but what it comes across as is them being idealistically dedicated to what they're trying to accomplish. And 95% of the time, that makes an antagonist far more interesting than if they were just out to do it because they're evil. This film is the debut of Studio Panak, a group of animators who used to work for Studio Ghibli before Hayao Miyazaki retired. Until he came out of retirement. Again. Anyway, given the animators' resumes, it really should be no shock to anyone that the animation, character design, and other visual elements of the movie look as good as they do. The iffy. When I went to watch this movie, it was the English dub and the characters were British. Given that it's based on an English fairy tale written by Mary Stuart, The Little Broomstick, that seems like the most fitting way to watch this movie. If any of you out there watched the Japanese dub of this movie, leave a comment letting me know how it was. Though Mary's arc is meaningful enough, most of the characters in this movie aren't that interesting. Most of the time, the other characters feel like they're there to serve the purposes of the story, not to add to it. The bad. In this movie, there's a lot of repetition of dialogue, namely from Mary repeating exposition to us. This is a fly-by-night, sometimes known as the witch's flower. The witch's flower? This is a relatively minor complaint, but it's a trope that appears in so many different things, and it gets on my nerves. There's also a phrase in the third act that's repeated a lot. 2, maybe 3 times is good enough for emphasis, just driving the point home. Any more than that, and I just get to a state of, okay, I get it. Tell me something different. In a way, the ending of this film just kind of sets everything back to square one. Putting aside Mary's character development and the fact that she did go on an adventure, it feels like the events of this film aren't going to have a lasting impact on the characters' lives. The verdict? Mary and the Witch's Flower is a simple story with cute moments and great animation. It didn't leave a strong impression on me, but at the same time, it wasn't unpleasant, and I don't regret seeing it. I say, give it at least one watch. This is Detective Steve, and in a world where we're going to be getting less feature films from Studio Ghibli, I appreciate the fact that we can look forward to more films from Studio Panak. Or Panak, or Ponok. How exactly do you pronounce the name of this studio?